Morning guys, it's D Swordfish once again with some more Dota 2 gameplay. This time I'm playing Death Prophet and I'm dominating, of course. Easiest hero in the game, would not be too surprised. I can't not dominate with Death Prophet. She is just so fucking amazing. On to the commentary today though. The commentary today is about critical thinking. Yes, of course. And critical thinking is that thing which everyone regards as good, but nobody really knows what it is. The basic idea though is that we consider critical thinkers to be people that can analyze different points of view, the pros and the cons, advantages, disadvantages of certain ideas, certain ideologies, certain events, etc., etc. You consider these people to be, in general, smart, or at least capable to some extent, and essentially it's the art of bullshitting, in many cases, right? Of course, critical thinking is by all means a really good skill, though. I gotta admit, because it allows us, actually, to not follow leaders blindly. Oftentimes, in history, you'll see this where people will just follow leaders blindly, being unable to just kind of think their ideas through. And this is what critical thinking is. Thinking ideas through, thinking through ideologies and saying, wait, that's just not right. And it can prevent things like, for example, Hitler's rise to power could have been prevented very easily by just some critical thinking skills. Of course, that's the idea. Not in if we actually put it, into practice, maybe not so. Considering that his ideas seemed pretty fucking cool by the time, and maybe racism wasn't bad for the white people, despite what he was gonna do with the Jews. But still, because sometimes we have the idea that, of course, if the Germans could have had a choice in morale, they would have not killed the Jews. But I'm using the Holocaust as an example, but there's many more examples. But still, let's go on. Many people think that the Germans are like, oh no, but if they knew Hitler was doing this with the Jews, would they have stopped him? I don't know. Maybe not. Like, they don't have to be this Superman saviors of the universe. They have no obligation to. So, anyway, putting that out there, that will be another commentary. Point is, these things can obviously be prevented in theory with critical thinking. Following leaders blindly and being obedient without knowing why can be prevented with critical thinking. The only issue is that critical thinking is a skill that is developed by some people, not all, throughout your life by a gathering of different experiences and different points of view and outcomes of life and whatnot, and they all put it together and come up with your own criteria on how to judge life. This is how your moral system is based, on how your views, at least the idea. That's why people who are have seen more of the world in general have more educated views. Also, let me just say this, people who have seen more of the world but are not scientifically literate, like I've seen so many of these people, and we'll talk about how, but the Australians really discovered that a frog brought the rain, and I know science doesn't prove it, but I really believe it. No, fuck you people. Okay, fuck you people. People who have had thousands of experiences but can't analyze them will stay dumb. This is something I want to say. No matter how many experiences you have, you will stay dumb unless you can analyze them properly and come to a valid conclusion. Of course, valid conclusion is definitely a subjective term, but I'm just going to assume that science is real. I know, crazy. What? Yeah, science is real? What's this bullshit? Yeah, crazy. Scientific system is better than mythology? No, this can't be religion all the way. Of course. I'm very close-minded, naive, sorry. Anyway, that aside, people who have been through many things and have been able to analyze many experiences, have seen many points of view, are able to develop not only their own criteria and their own moral system and system of values and beliefs and whatnot, but also their own critical thinking skills, in which they will know when to judge a certain source's validity, when to understand what it really means to the pros and the cons, and when to judge people in certain ways, etc., which is many of the things in critical thinking. Of course, the issue with this is that critical thinking is not achieved by everyone, and this is an issue, of course. So what people decided to do is start teaching in schools. There are many systems, not only, the IB is the main one I would say, but there are many systems out there who try to teach these critical thinking skills, many teachers as well, who try to teach these critical thinking skills. And the basis of critical thinking is, analyze different points of view, being open to many ideas. Of course, that is not something that can be biased in any way. If you teach just this concept of being able to think through, that is in no way gonna brainwash the students. But of course, that is not That is not what the school do. Because the schools have to grade you on your critical thinking skills. They have to grade you on your essays and whatnot. And you end up learning how to think like them. You end up learning, I must do this way to get a good grade. And you think, I'm just doing this for school. And for some people, it might be the case. But for many, it ends up becoming their own thought process. Even for myself, I gotta admit, I was very influenced by the way I was forced to write, by the way I was forced to think during my school days. Yeah. It's just a very influential, especially when you first get to it. When you first start to get used to it, it influences you without you knowing, and especially in terms of knowing what sources are valid or not. And I will do a whole commentary on the validity of sources, but still knowing what just the idea of knowing what sources are valid or not, and what things are worth saying. What are the right advantages and disadvantages and what are not. These things actually influence a lot the way you think critically and your ideas. And this is a very big issue. And you might say, well, these swordfish, isn't it better if they follow a worldwide educational system which promotes equality rather than follow a dictator blindly? I mean, this system has been thought of by many people, so obviously it has to have some sort of equality within it. Everyone has put their own 2 cents as a little bit of all cultures. Yes, I completely agree with you. I much rather people follow the IB than follow Hitler blindly. Yes, because the IB hasn't created 1,000 Jews millions of Jews dying. Yes, of course. But you have to think this. The key difference between this is that the IB and most educational systems that are created with this idea of critical thinking are international. There are many more people than just a nation following them blindly. And this is an issue because despite them preaching about equality and whatnot, it also limits your creativity and your thinking. And if any intelligent person gets their hands on it, they can definitely manipulate these minds just using the IB system, for example. I'm using the IB as an example. There are many more systems, of course. Anyway, this means that I much rather fight a nation of blind idiots who can't see what's going on due to some bad economic time or social unrest than a whole worldwide organization or worldwide community of people who have been taught to think a certain way and they can't shake it off. Because the worst thing about it is that they're not taught to think, they're not following this blindly because they have to, or they're in really bad circumstances which might pass. Because of course, people follow leaders blindly, but when the bad times pass and they realize the leaders they can stop worrying about their family and think about their politics again, they quickly overthrow these leaders. This has happened in history before. Hitler didn't get overthrown, obviously, but there are many examples of leaders who got overthrown once people were able to think critically about everything that was happening. Maybe it wasn't the whole population, but it was definitely a few people that rose up and told the people, hey, there's something wrong here. However, if you teach a whole generation of kids, especially when they're kids and they are trying to settle, kids and teenagers, when they're trying to establish their moral values and their critical thinking skills and their beliefs and whatnot, if you teach them to think a certain way, it is going to be very hard to teach them otherwise. And that's an issue. That creates a very big issue, a very big worldwide cult of followers to a system that might not be the right one and can be misused. And more importantly, it limits the creativity of many, many teenagers, forcing them to think a certain way. This has been shown by the fact that the IB is, for example, is much more successful in the sciences than in the arts. And the arts that get produced by these students are mostly things like critical essays and whatnot, but not actual people. There's no people that go to film school and whatnot. And this worries me, in all honesty. This really worries me because it is hard to not get influenced by this system, but you must know that it is another person trying to influence you and trying to make you to obey, and you must be able to distance what will make you successful in life, because of course, I don't agree with being obedient, but you also have to be smart. Don't just revolt for the heck of it. Know when to revolt, and this is not the time. Be smart, get good grades, but at the same time, know that your ideology should not change due to this way you're forced to think. And if you can do that, then you will become a powerful citizen in this world, and you can qualify yourself as intelligent, because you have learned from experiences, you have been able to withstand your moral values while taking something away from the IB. And that's something that's pretty goddamn amazing, to be honest. Then again, if you do that, you will be following just me blindly. So, make sure you agree with all my points before you do anything I say. Because, of course, I don't want a nation of blind followers. I just want people to listen. And for someone to say, hey, this motherfucker's right. And not follow me blindly, because I don't want the dumb people to follow me blindly. That's kind of pointless. Any good leader doesn't want that. Any good leader wants people to agree with his ideas, or even if they don't, think, he does have a point. He is a smart guy. Anyway, guys, I will see you guys next time, hopefully with another commentary against the oppression that is the IB, or whatever else. Hopefully I can do something on sources, or, yeah, I have many commentaries in line. So join me for another commentary. Finally, regular schedule will come back. Hope you enjoyed this one, and watch out for my cast. Currently casting Argendodo. My Twitch channel is much more live than before, so watch out for that. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Feel free to subscribe, guys. Follow that blindly, by the way. Please do subscribe. Follow those orders blindly. See you guys next time.